Okay, let's talk assets versus liabilities. I think this is a topic worth covering because having a clear-cut understanding between the two will assist you in how you handle and make your financial decisions throughout your life. And overall, it's a pretty simple topic to understand, and most people should have a basic understanding of it. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and today's video is going to be a simple breakdown of the important concepts to understand about assets and liabilities. First up, let's get some context for what an asset is and what a liability is. An asset is something that adds value to your portfolio or wealth and sometimes increases in value over time. It's essentially what you own. A liability is the opposite. They are obligations that you have, and in short, they are essentially what you owe. Examples of assets include things like real estate, cash, and investments, such as you holding stock in a company or potentially cryptocurrency. Whereas a liability is, like I just said, money owed, so in short, debt. Things like a mortgage, a car loan, maybe student debts, medical debts, personal loans, credit card debt. All of those types of examples are strong examples of what a liability is. Now, one of the key things to understand here is that both assets and liabilities are kind of used in harmony together to build wealth. Let's look at me as a case study. I took out about $36,000 of student debt to basically get my university degree, which is money that I owe, which would be considered a liability. I then went on to get a job in the field that I studied, where I was able to pay back that debt whilst also earning extra money, because that's how salaries work. They take a small percentage to pay back that debt. I also gained experience in the industry of the field that I studied in while I was working in that industry. And I have also been able to progress my career to continue building my wealth into the future based on my line of work. Without taking on that liability, I never would have been able to be employed in this line of work, nor would have I been able to earn money in the field that I studied. For anyone wondering, it was mechanical engineering. Another really good example of how assets and liabilities can work together to build wealth is when taking on a mortgage for an investment property, which is another thing I have also done. The liability was the debt that I took on in the form of a mortgage and the interest repayments I make to the bank. However, the return on investment far exceeds the cost of that liability now. And the wealth building component of this scenario is that the house now is positively geared, which means the rent that I earn as income covers both the mortgage repayment costs and the fixed expenses against the property. And the property itself is appreciating in value as time goes on as well. Now, quickly sidestepping for a moment, something absolutely worth understanding about your own individual assets is how liquid they are. And what I mean by this is how quickly can they be converted from their current state to cash. And the reason why we're using cash as kind of the benchmark where you're going to sell your asset into cash for this scenario is because cash is universally accepted. It is generally going to be accepted for almost any transaction that takes place on earth. No matter where it is in the world, you can convert that cash to almost any other type of asset or good. You can use it to make purchases. So we're kind of setting that as the benchmark here, which leads me on to the other end of the spectrum here, where assets like property are not as easily converted to cash, which I wouldn't call a property a liquid asset. Realistically, the conditions of a sale could be anywhere up to 3 months before you see any cash come through for the sale of a property. And that is a significant period of time, something to absolutely understand about the assets you own and why it's important to understand what a liquid asset is versus something that might be a little bit harder to convert to cash. And the reason why I quickly wanted to go off into this tangent is because understanding this can definitely assist you in your wealth building journey. Diversifying across different asset classes can really give you the opportunity to be able to convert an asset into liquid cash. And if you're someone who is a little bit more risk savvy, someone who's willing to take risks when opportunities present themselves, having the ability to convert one asset into cash to then convert or invest in another really good opportunity is going to be in your best interest. So having a bit of diversity in your asset allocation is something that is definitely worth considering as well. I have personally made some very significant returns over the past couple of years with my more liquid assets such as cryptocurrency, just to name one, and I thought it would be worth mentioning in this video. I have also made videos talking about different asset allocations and the different asset classes and how I invest in them specifically. So if you were interested in learning more about that, I've left a link down in the description below to those videos. Feel free to check them out after this one if it's something you're you're interested in. Moving on from there, but before I quickly do, tap that like and subscribe button down below for me. It really does help the channel grow, and I really do appreciate the support. I also just wanted to quickly clear up some misconceptions about assets and liabilities and just talk about a few other key points worth mentioning. One in particular is one that I've heard many times before, and that it is a car is a liability, when a car in fact is actually an asset. A car lets you, for example, if you use your car to get to and from work, it allows you to do the thing which provides income for you to support your family, for example. It is known as an asset, but it is known as a depreciating asset because yes, it does drop in value. The liability component of, let's say, a car in this instance or this example would be if you owned a car with a loan on the car. It still doesn't make the car a liability, it just makes the money owed on that car the liability. The car itself is still a depreciating asset. To add to this as well, a fun little exercise you can do once you understand what your own personal assets are and what your personal liabilities are is to calculate what is known as your net worth. It's a pretty simple calculation, and it's basically to subtract your liabilities from your assets, what the values of them are. It's something that can just be generalized, and you can do it pretty simply just to get a rough idea, or you can go balls deep and actually calculate it if you really want to. Yes, I may have taken the time to do it myself, and I have come back with a number which is about $600,000 at the time of recording this video, which is significantly higher from the last time that I actually calculated that number, which was about a year ago from the time of recording this video. And the reason as to why that number increased so dramatically is based on performance in both my crypto investments and my actual property as well, based on where I live and how the property market has reacted to the pandemic and how people have really started FOMOing into the market and the prices have kind of skyrocketed. Now, by no means is this a comparison or a guide as to how rich or wealthy you should be at your own age. I am not the benchmark whatsoever. There will be people who are much wealthier than me watching this video right now. There will be people who are not in the same situation, but it's nothing to fret upon. I just really wanted to kind of take a snapshot of where I am at my life at the time of recording this video for not just yourself to see and understand, but just even to compare to when I get a little bit older and see how far I've progressed, how far I've come. It's what the intent of this channel was for me personally. I'm not here to make millions of dollars on the channel. I really just wanted to create kind of a library, something I can look back on and see where I'm at. So use that information however you want. Just understand that personally, it is not something where I'm trying to brag and really show off. And it's not something that I'm saying you need to be at this level based on your age. Overall, I just really wanted to discuss this ancillary topic because it's something good to have at the back of your mind. It just adds to the personal finance journey piece of knowledge. Like understanding the difference between the two allows you to apply a few things to a few different scenarios, such as, like I said, collecting or counting or figuring out your net worth. It's definitely worth doing at some point throughout your life. It can be a good moment or snapshot in your own life to capture and then look back on when you're older. Overall though, it's not the most useful piece of information to understand. It's just kind of continuing on that journey of learning, and I think it's worthwhile mentioning that as well, because overall these are the types of videos which you should just kind of watch in the background, watch them, every now and then, just refresh your memory on it and then move on to the next thing. They can be useful, and they definitely are useful to people like myself. I find it very useful following up and brushing up on this type of information every now and then. It's good to keep at the back of my mind, but it's not something I use every single day. I think the key message is that understanding the difference between the two and how they can work together is a useful tool, especially when looking at wealth building, using the investment property example I used earlier. I think that really sets a good tone and gives a good understanding of how wealth building is done using these two things together. With that being said, I hope I made you think today. I hope I kind of instilled some insight into the topic, and I hope that maybe you learned something new, which would be really great. That's what I'm intending to do on the channel. With that being said, that's all I really have. If you have any questions, please drop me a comment down below. Don't forget to turn on bell notifications so you don't miss any of the videos I release, and I'll leave you there. As always, have a good week, have a good day. Did them backwards for a change because why not? And that's pretty much it. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.